Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. It's Monday morning, on the air, off the presses, and today we're going to talk to, well, you'll have to wait and see. He's a member of the media. He still is, that's right. We'll talk a lot about his new gig that's coming up. We'll talk about Donald Trump, and we'll also talk about the newspaper business. 436-MeTV, option 11. Do call in, do weigh in. We have an open phone line. And by the way, folks, today's program is sponsored by Dr. Thomas Casagrande. It's where I got these little specs right here. 2020 Optometrics. Glad to see you back here on the program. Here, my friends, connect with me on MeTV Fresno on this Monday morning. It is the beginning of another week here, and we've got an interesting week ahead. A quick programming note before we get started today. Tomorrow, we're going to have Sam Shima in. Very interesting story because Sam has been a friend of mine for a long time. He's been on the show countless times over the last 4 or 5 years. He owns Gymnastics Beat. It is a very popular place here in the city of Fresno. Well, guess what? High-speed rail came in and they said, hey, Sam Shima, see you later, bye-bye. And so he had to move into a new location. We'll talk to him about that. And then on Wednesday, guess who's going to be on the program? Dr. Harry Harris. That's right. He is the former chief of staff at the White House for Jimmy Carter. On Thursday, Andy Souza, the food bank, is going to be here, and on Friday, we'll talk about mosquitoes. In the meantime, you're watching us live on Comcast, channel 375, as usual. It's a call-in program, as you can see there, 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning, 436-MeTV, option 11. And if you don't have Comcast cable, you can catch us live at 43.6, 13.1, over-the-air broadcast with one of those digital antennas that has been hanging from the ceiling here at Ventura TV ever since I've been here, and probably well beyond. Anyway, the replay comes up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. After that, my friends, you can catch us on YouTube. All right, today we're going to talk about changes, and I mean some big changes in the media, specifically at the Fresno Bee. That's not news, my friends, because recently there was a round of layoffs. We all know about that. The reason is simple, though. You know what that reason is? It's the internet. We'll get into that. Put the photos up. We'll go through the series of photos here. You've seen these big headlines before. Look at the Fresno Bee. There it is. Headlines like this that you're seeing on your television screen at home right now in living color on the front page of the Fresno Bee could soon be a thing of the past, though. All because many publications are eliminating hard copy subscriptions. The ones that are doing that are not going out of business, but they are available only online, and in most cases, you have to pay to see the newspaper. It seems the Fresno Bee is going in that direction after a recent round of layoffs. Excuse me. In fact, our guest today was one of those casualties. I will put myself out on a limb today and say that by reading the headlines with big, bold print on the front page like you're seeing here, oh my goodness, my friends, this is part of American culture. Whether it's the Fresno Bee, the New York Times, the LA Times, the Wall Street Journal. You know, last week here in the city of Fresno was Keith Foster, who was found guilty, 2 felony counts. Etched in my mind from a long time ago was JFK being assassinated, the 49ers and the Raiders winning the Super Bowl. How about 9/11? How about the end of the Vietnam War? How about the end of the Iraq and Afghanistan war? Nixon resigning, even every presidential election since I've been alive. I have those memories burned into my brain even to this day, but headlines is a dying creature which may soon be gone. Welcome to the future, my friends. Live in our studio right now is Rick Bentley, formerly of the Fresno Bee. Yes, I say formerly because he was laid off a few weeks back, along with several others, including Donald Monroe, one of my other favorites at the Fresno Bee. But guess what, my friends? He's got a new gig. He's here to talk about that the media, the newspaper industry, and whatever you'd like to talk about. 436-ME-TV, option 11. It's on the air, off the presses with our friend Rick Bentley. I've known this guy for a long time, and believe me, he's a good guy. And I'm saying that even though he's not at the Fresno Bee any longer. I'm not trying to get him to write anything nice about me. You see, I like the guy. I've always liked the guy. He's a great man. All right, 436-ME-TV, option 11. Back in just a moment. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
And away we go.
Here's the place that makes you smile. Stick around and stay a while. We're the home of great TV. That's memorable. That's me.
Follow me, sir.
Call them classics, call them the best. Call them favorites, be our guest. Every day there's more to come. Watch and see, there's only one. Me TV.
All you have to do is watch me.
Are you kidding me?
Follow me.
That's memorable. That's me.
That's me.
Me TV.
You know, anything that we talk about on this show, or anything I've talked about on this show for the last 5 years, I mean, we're not making it up. And like I've told my friend Dennis Hart, who comes on the program and has been on here consistently for the last 5 years, another media guy, right? He says, oh my God, Donald Trump, we can't make this stuff up. It's just so good, it just falls into our lap. So we don't even have to prep for the show. We already know what's happening with Donald Trump. We just come on here and talk about it. Rick Bentley is the guest today.
Hey,
good to see you.
good to see you.
Welcome back to the program.
Well, thanks for having me.
And
even though you don't have to anymore.
No, I don't have to kiss up to you anymore.
That's right.
But I'm still kissing up to you because I like you. You're a good guy. You've always been nice to me. So
well,
I respect your work. Let's put it that way.
You made it easy. They're professionals in this world that I've written about, and you were certainly one of them, and that made it easy to do. So, you know, it worked both ways.
Yeah, well, you are a professional as well, and thanks for being here. And condolences for what happened at the Bee, but you have a new gig. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. What about? I mean, you saw the headlines there, and I just use that as a classic example. And I honestly mean the first headline I noticed that's etched in my brain as a kid was when JFK was shot.
Right.
And you remember that.
Oh, of course.
And so these headlines, aren't they part of American culture?
Well, it's not just the headlines. I think people have got to get their heads wrapped around the fact that newspapers, since the founding fathers knew this, newspapers are important to our country. You know, they're the record of our life. You know, we can go back now and read about not only see that those images of for the JFK assassination or the end of World War II, but we can read about it. We can get those stories about what happened, and so that hard copy has been there every day for us to look at. But newspapers are going through the same thing that so many businesses are going through. It's a transitional period for them, and things are changing, and it's not going to be the way we've wanted it to be or would like to keep it, so they can keep up with the times. Yeah, and I'm going to bring up like one incident that I can think of. When Bill Clinton was president, he was obviously being quite elusive when it came to Monica Lewinsky. And then when he gave his testimony in front of that one camera, remember that one camera, that testimony, and he was being questioned during that deposition, how different is it to have that on record as opposed to going back and having it in print? You know, going back in the archives and reading it for myself in the New York Times or anywhere else, is it different? You know, that we've always talked about when I was working in newspapers and I was writing about television in your world, was that was competition. Right. And I never considered it competition. We were both all chasing the same stories. Everybody wanted the Clinton story, okay? You had to have that. Yeah. And television would give you, and that's what we see today, television will give you that 30-second, 45-second coverage of that story. What newspapers had done for so many years and so well was they took it further. It was their job to, it's not only that Clinton testified, but what did he say? And when he said this, what did that mean? And so it was always been the newspaper's job to take the story that everybody knew and take it further, take it deeper. And we could do that because we had miles of newsprint. Well, as the advertising has began to dry up in the newspaper world, they've had less space and they've had to start consolidating and throwing things out. And they can't do. It's hard for them to do those big stories. You can tell it right now that people still want that, because if you look at the newspaper industry across the board, the papers that are doing the best right now are the New York Times, the Washington Post, the LA Times, those big papers who have put a lot of time and effort and energy into covering politics, because that's the big story. And they can take what Donald Trump's current tweet and tell you, well, what does this mean? Where does this fit into history? What's going on here? And those papers have seen subscriptions go up, which is something that's not happened to newspapers for a long time.
Since the election of Trump.
Yeah, Trump was a godsend to those big papers.
Washington Post,
right.
Journal, the Wall Street Journal.
Right. Those that really can concentrate on the political aspects and had writers in place. Pulitzer-winning prize journalists who covered that anyway are now giving the public those long, in-depth, and it's really hard to declare something fake news if you have this long story with all these sources and all this background information. It's really hard to declare that fake if there's so much factual information there. And so those are the ones they can't just brush off. And so big papers are surviving. It's the middle of the road papers, the small, that are struggling with subscriptions, and as subscriptions go down, the size of the paper goes down, and the amount of stories you can do goes down.
Why is the New York Times, why is the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal or say the Philadelphia Inquirer, Chicago Tribune, why are they thriving and the others are not? I mean, the New York Times to me seems like, despite there being this huge conglomerate, this huge corporation that makes a lot of money, are they making money on that newspaper, or are they losing money and they just keep going?
And I cannot talk about everybody's business model because I don't know exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
But my understanding is the papers that are doing well, like the Times and the Trib and the Washington Post, when the internet came along, this is the core of what happened to the newspaper industry. When the internet came along, newspapers were excited about it. Oh wow, we can not only reach people through the print, but we can go online and they can read our paper there. Well, they gave the product away. And I've always told people it's like going into a town and opening 2 McDonald's. One, they charge you full price. The other one, it's all free. Which one are you going to go to? Well, you're going to go to the all free one. And so you're not going to, so the people producing the hamburgers, if you're going to all free, aren't making any money. The bigger papers, the ones who were smart, at the beginning of the internet boom, said, look, we'll put it on the internet. You get our front page of our internet. You can read those 2 or 3 stories there. If you want to go inside, they've built a wall that you have to pay a subscription fee to go inside. Then you can read everything in the world they've got. Well, that subscription fee was a balance out for what they'd lost from the subscriptions from the print product. And so those that were smart enough to get on those subscription malls built early are the ones who really, I think, have found the model to make where the print product may not be making as much money as it was before, the online product advertising was making more, and so it balances out.
But getting back to my other point though about say Clinton, I'm just using Clinton and Lewinsky as a model. So this happened before my kids were born. So if I want my 2 children who are teenagers now to learn about that time period, about the Clinton-Lewinsky scandal, isn't it better for them to read about it in the archives, exactly what happened with the impeachment, with the testimony he gave in that deposition, to read about it in the archives from the New York Times, from the Washington Post, to get a sense and get the backstory about what happened? Because when you're just watching video, even if it's taped like several years ago, television, you're not getting the full story.
Where are they going to find those archives? On the internet.
Yes.
So it circles right back around. All that information, and I'm not saying that the newspaper industry is going away. It's not. It's going to be here. But it's going to be presented to you in a different form. We're seeing newspapers already across the country drop 1 or 2 days of their print publication,
Right.
and then tell people, look, you have to go online to get the information on a Monday or Tuesday because we won't be back until Wednesday. They're still writing stories on that Monday and Tuesday. It's just online. So your children and their children and their children will still be able to see those stories. We'll still, if they want to read about Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, we'll Google that and find the New York Times story from that time. So they're going to use the internet.
It's better to read it in print than it is on television.
Well,
That's the difference.
Right, but
because you're getting more of a story by
exactly.
reading.
Yeah. But it's the delivery system for print that's going to change.
Gotcha.
You instead of holding that paper in your lap when you're riding on a train or something, you'll have your iPad or your phone.
Yeah. Yeah, and the internet has replaced the old days. I can remember, Rick, back in the day when I covered the Indy 500 back in the 80s, I used to go to the library and get the microfiche.
Oh, yeah.
And go back and see, okay, let me read up on A.J. Foyt. Let me read up on Tom Sneva. Let me read up on these guys. I had to go get the microfiche to do that.
Did
you ever do that?
I've been in this business long enough. When I would write about television shows, I had books.
Yeah.
I'd have to pull the book off the shelf and read about it, or I would go to our files, which were clips of old stories that were in a packet saying Jamie Farr or whatever, and then you'd go, oh, well, we got 3 stories there, I can read those. Now, if I want to write something about somebody, I just Google their name and I can find
anything.
You just have to be careful of the sources you're citing.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing about the internet is you don't know about the sources.
Exactly.
If it's coming from maybe the Huffington Post or something, you never know.
See, I always tend to lean toward the official websites. If I'm writing about somebody, let's say, on an ABC TV show, I will go to the ABC website themselves. They're going to be most likely to be the honest, true story. Or even local television or local radio. Everybody has their own website, and they have information on there about their anchors and their people like that. So that's the source I go to, is usually the prime source.
Yeah, like if Alec Baldwin came to town, you wanted to interview him, you're probably going to go, and he did, let's say, an interview with the Chicago Tribune 2 months ago, you're probably going to go to that source and read
sure.
What he said in there.
Yeah, because
there's background stuff.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff, let's say I only have 10 minutes with Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in that Chicago Trib story or the New York Times story or whatever that's background stuff that I can use that I don't have to ask him about.
Yeah.
I can then get to the key points that I want for my story.
Yeah.
And so, but I always tell people, working in newspapers is almost like going to school every day, because you do your work during the day, you go home at night and you do your homework. You'd read everything you could about a TV show or a person or an anchor or whatever you were writing about, and be ready the next day with your background information. And then, as you know as much as anybody, when you do the interview, you just listen. And when whatever they say, if you're listening to them, you're going to get information you didn't even think you were going to get, and you have to be able to play off of that.
Yeah. This reminds me of those old microfiche days. Man, it goes back a long way.
And those were painful to use because you'd wind them or you'd get them on wrong and they'd be upside down, or that's so archaic. But at that time, that was the thing. It was like, oh my gosh, we can look at on screen and read that old story.
I spent a lot of time over at the library at Sacramento State University going through microfiche. It was unbelievable. I got to know everybody there by their first name. Anyway, 436-MeTV, option 11. Thank God for the internet, though, but you still have to worry about fake news. 436-MeTV, option 11. Our friend Rick Bentley is here, and you're there, so you can call in. Our open phone line here is available, and Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor today here on the program. Back in just a moment.
At 20/20 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 20/20 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
You know, I think long and hard started in this business some 40 years ago, and I think about how I came up the hard way, and starting at the bottom, I'm sure you did too.
Sure.
And how it is today, Rick, how it's changed, the media has changed, and you get these Ken and Barbie anchors, news anchors too. I know I'm kind of veering off topic here, but in my end, I look at the Ken and Barbie anchors, and they're reading copy, they're reading the prompter, but they're not understanding what they're reading, or they're reading it too fast, and the meaning gets lost. Or, you know, I don't know what it's like in your end, the newspaper end, but how much is it, besides what we already talked about, have the reporters changed?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. As the business began to change, the reporter had to adjust, had to adapt. You know, we went from just being a person who would walk out, you know, I'm going to do a story on this, you do the interview, you do the research, and you write it. But then reporters now have to also shoot video. They have to be able to edit video. They have to be able to write a headline for their story. They have to be able to attach photos to it. There's this whole process now that takes, and anything that takes time away from you being that pure journalist of writing that story. Now, I speak this is in a general term. The Washington Post, the New York Times, their reporters are doing, you know, they've got 6 months to write one story, and that's great, and it shows, and they win the Pulitzers for it, and they should. But you know, if you're doing one story every 6 months, but the general newspaper world out there now is putting so much on, and it's just not newspapers.
Even the New York Times is doing video, though.
But they'll have somebody separately doing that.
Yeah.
They have a whole video department. You know, I have a friend who works at the newspaper in Las Vegas. She works on the print side of editing stories. She does nothing with the online side. You know, they communicate and they link to each other, but she doesn't have to worry about it. So there's a lot of places like that are trying to keep them separate. There's a lot of them that are blending them down. But I'm just going to say, it's just not newspapers. Look at what television is going through. You're looking at situations now where at one time they would send out, I'm sure in the heyday when you're there, they'd send a reporter, a photographer, and maybe even a producer or line edit. I mean,
grip, even a grip.
Right. Now you send out the poor camera guy with some questions. And they set the camera up and they ask the questions, and as strong as they are as photojournalists, and don't get me wrong, I admire them for that. They're not they're not trained to, if somebody answers something. I've always used the example of, you know, they're told to ask the question, you know, you have a three-legged dog, how is that? You know, the guy will go, well, it's nice having a three-legged dog. It's not as nice as killing people on the weekend. And then they go, well, where does the three-legged dog sleep? And you go, you have to be that person who hears that answer and go, wait a minute, I no longer care about the three-legged dog.
Yeah.
But when you're somebody who's are trying to think of, all right, I've got to shoot the pictures, I've got to do the story, everything, it makes it hard on them. And so there's this crush on journalists these days to do all of that, and anything that takes time away from your primary job is going to make you're going to suffer a little bit, even the best.
Yeah. Now, you were at the Fresno Bee 18 years.
Yeah.
Should I ask you what happened? I guess it's just...
Well, it's, you know, I've had a lot
downsizing, I guess.
Yeah.
Huh?
I've had a lot of people tell me how sorry they were, and I appreciate that. Every time I hear that, I feel like I did my job right, that if they'd missed me, that I was doing what I was supposed to do. But I had to go through what so many Americans are going through right now. Companies are changing. They're downsizing. They're shifting their focus. And it came a point where the company that owns the Fresno Bee decided to take a different direction in how they're covering news, and the entertainment writing that I and Donald Monroe was doing didn't fit into their plan. And so it didn't come as a shock. I mean, I've watched this downsizing for year after year, knowing that eventually it would get around to me. I am thankful to the Bee that I stayed on as long as I did. While I was there, they gave me incredible opportunities. I have done some of the most incredible interviews in my life while I was with them. So I have nothing negative against them. I saw this coming. It's the industry.
Yeah.
And so it was just a matter of their changing direction. I didn't fit that plan. And I bet you I can walk out on the street right now and find you 10 Americans in 30 seconds who have gone through that same thing with their company.
There was a sense maybe that the Bee is really serious about eliminating their hard copy and going full on board with online?
Well, I have no direct proof or no conversations. I wasn't up in the hierarchy, but what I can say is that if you look at what's going on across the country, the trend is that the print part it's that huge expense that somehow has got to go away. And they've tried eliminating jobs. They've tried to, the Bee even started printing their paper in Sacramento to eliminate that cost. But I think eventually what we're going to see is that we're going to see either part of the week be online or if not the whole thing online.
See, here's the thing about that. You just mentioned something right there that I just heard. You say that the Bee is sending all of their stuff to Sacramento to be printed, and you lose an entire day. Now the deadline becomes even earlier.
7:30.
7:30 was the deadline.
Yeah.
Okay, that means that, and I was just at the airport the other night when the little spelling bee champion came in.
Right.
Anaya, she was great. Came off, a lot of fanfare. You'd think, and that happened around 8 o'clock at night.
Right.
Nothing. Should have been a big front page photo, color in the Fresno Bee of her getting on. And Jim Costa, the congressman, came off the plane with her.
Yeah.
That should have been on the front page of the Bee with a color photo. Wasn't.
You technically can't. Your paper's already been shipped out.
Yeah. That's the drawback.
I will tell you this. I did not look, but maybe online that evening, that picture was there. That story was there. I mean, this is the idea of when you think about newspapers now, you have to stop thinking in this linear print version.
Yeah.
Yes, a story may not be in the paper the next day. It's like, oh, the Giants game from last night wasn't in there.
The NBA Finals.
Right. But online, that was there immediately after the game was over. The information was there. So newspapers are transitioning, and I think readers and fans of newspapers have to transition with it. The thing I hear, though, is that there are a lot of older people who have grown up with newspapers. That's their love. They want to hold it and smell it and get the ink on their hands. And they have a hard time going on the internet and finding this stuff. It's going to be tough on them. But I think eventually they will be walked through it to a point where they can at least, because again, it's pretty, pretty easy to find it if somebody has shown you how to get to it. So it's just going to, it's going to take some rethinking.
Here's the thing about the hard copy, about the newspaper, and I had to think about this just for a minute, and you can probably agree with me on this, because, see, my thinking is, hey, that hard copy newspaper, people get up in the morning, they take Amtrak to go to L.A., they take Amtrak to go to Sacramento, San Francisco. That Fresno Bee ends up all up and down California because people are traveling, they're commuting,
sure.
Okay? And I said to myself, wait a minute.
Yeah, but you again,
can see everything on the internet in China.
That's right. You're thinking too linear. Okay.
Yeah.
Instead of that Fresno Bee being taken to those cities,
yeah,
it's already there.
It's online.
You could be right now. Somebody in Paris could be reading a story on the Fresno Bee or the Visalia paper, or
I know.
It's all out. It's global.
I know.
That was the biggest transition. When I started in this business,
right.
Sometimes you get a note from somebody who said, my cousin in your city mailed me the story about my nephew and blah blah blah, and that was the only way you knew the story got outside the city. Mm-hmm. Then there was a point where suddenly you were getting emails and stuff from people in Australia who had read your stories, and you go, this is really weird to think your reach is out there.
I mean, right here on my phone, I've got the BBC.
Sure.
Right here.
Exactly.
I've got internet news from around the world on this phone.
And that's what I'm saying. This is why newspapers had to go through a transition.
Yeah.
The newspaper, as far as coverage is concerned, it's not going to go away. There's always going to be people out there watching the world. It's the delivery system.
Yeah. I got to go to break, but Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor today. But the sad news is that a lot of people are getting their news from not traditional newspapers, even online. They're getting their news from Facebook or Bill Maher or watching the late shows, Jimmy Kimmel, or what's his name on CBS, Colbert.
Colbert, yeah.
So traditional news may also be kind of on the decline. Because the New York Times, a lot of times, they'll quote other publications.
Sure.
That you thought, oh my God, they're quoting the National Enquirer? Are you kidding me?
Look, I knew the media had changed when people started quoting TMZ.
Yeah, I forgot about TMZ.
And I will tell you something. As much as you want to make fun of TMZ, you want to think it's sort of a raggish type situation.
Yeah.
Those guys are on point
They hustle.
with stories more often than other publications. I will never downplay them. But to hear that, hear somebody on ABC News go, TMZ reported today, you go, when did we get to that world?
And from what I've heard, I have no proof of this, so this is just speculation. Maybe you have more in it. Doesn't TMZ pay people to get information?
Well, newspapers pay people to get information. TV stations pay people to get information. It's called reporters.
Not the journalism world. I never paid anybody to get
you're
information.
talking about sources.
Yeah, I'm talking about sources.
I thought you were talking about people that actually.
Yeah, I never paid anybody to get information.
Well, I'm not going to say that there.
I don't know.
I don't know what's gone on with other publications, and I don't know who has paid.
Yeah.
But we certainly know that TV has never hesitated. That we'll hear that the national news. When somebody gets the rights to the first interview for somebody, there was some sort of financial compensation made for that. There's a bidding war out there to get that. So, that kind of journalism is.
So what did Megyn Kelly offer Vladimir Putin for that interview? I want to know.
I think that's a road we don't go down.
Okay, all right. 436 MeTV option 11. We're back here on the program with Rick Bentley, and we'll come back here. Hey, want to hear from you? We got an open phone line at another half hour to go. Thomas Casagrande 2020 Optometrics is our sponsor. Back in a moment.
A top secret location. It's the spies who love me, bringing together MeTV's top super spies to fight evil at a memorable moment's notice. They're daring.
That's right.
Brave.
Now what are we gonna do?
The best we can.
Suave.
Does that apply to me, Oscar?
Possibly.
And smart.
The old finger in the gun trick.
Maxwell Smart.
MeTV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Back here with Rick Bentley, and 18 years at the B, but you also spent, and you came up at about the same time, showed up at the B about the same time Donald Monroe did, who I have a lot of respect for too.
Donald was there 27 years.
Oh, he was there a lot. Okay.
That was a lot longer than me.
A lot longer than you, but he's been on this program too many times before. But you worked in Bakersfield, you worked in Louisiana, you started your career in Kentucky.
Yeah.
You grew up in Tennessee, although you were born in Ohio. You're a Buckeye fan?
No, I mean, I was so little when I left. I don't remember anything about Ohio. I mean,
yeah. But of all the treks that you've made 3 major treks before you came to Fresno. What's the biggest thing you learned before you got here about the newspaper and journalism?
Well, the first paper I worked at in Kentucky was a small 6-day-a-week paper. Circulation was about 18,000. It was a very small paper. And the first day, I went in to go to work, and I went in as a sports writer. And the publisher told me, he said, here's the thing you need to remember about newspapers. Don't get a big head. The guy out there who is sweeping our floors, or the guy out there who is picking up papers, is just as important as you. Because it takes every one of these people to get that story together and out. and you have to work together, and you all have to, be respectful of each other. And if you do that, you'll be able to get through this business. And I have kept that as my mantra ever since.
Yeah. You're starting a new show, a new gig.
Right.
With Coca-Cola Broadcasting. Gary Coca-Cola, our friend over there who, helped this program get off the ground, helped me get hired here.
Right.
Actually, Gary's a good friend of mine. Talk about your show and when it's going to be on, when can we see it, and what's it going to entail?
Well, basically, right after I'd been laid off, Coca-Cola came to me, and I have a great admiration for Gary. He's one of the most knowledgeable people I know about television. And Gary was a little upset that there wasn't going to be somebody locally covering what was going on in TV and radio. And he pitched the idea of me doing what I was doing on my TV column on television. And so Gary came up with the idea of doing the TV Beat with Rick Bentley, which is going to be a twice-a-month program. I'm going to be doing, it's going to start Saturday, June 24th, 6:30 p.m. On KGMC 43.5, which is Antenna TV, and it's on Comcast 378. And basically what that show will be is what I did in my column. I will talk about local radio hires and fires, format changes, TV stations that might be changing programming. I will do what you're doing now. I'll bring on a guest each week, somebody in the media I feel like you should know. I will start with a radio personality that I have great admiration for. Will be my first guest on that show. I don't want to give it away because I want people to tune in. But the idea is to do what I was doing before and let people know. I will be the, sort of the watchdog of what's going on with local media or things in the national media that maybe are important to you. For example, I just got word today that the new American Idol on ABC series is going to have a tryout in Oakland. And so while that's a national TV show, there are going to be people from here who want to try out. So we'll talk about stuff like that. But it'll just be a great opportunity to be doing the stories I was doing for the Bee about the local media, except unfortunately people have to look at me.
All right, don't look at me with a stink eye here, because I watched American Idol. But even though I worked at KMPH and it aired on KMPH, I was busy putting the newscast together at 10 o'clock. Okay, so I didn't always watch with great interest. But so wait a minute, you just said to me the new American Idol on ABC, as opposed to Fox.
Yeah. Again.
All right, tell me something I don't know, because I didn't hear about this. I'm too focused on other things.
The decision was that American Idol worked. It was a big hit. You can't even. Okay. You had to pick up on the fact that it was a ratings hit. So it went off the air, and I've always contended that once Simon left, that was what killed it. But anyway, so the decision was, well, the format worked, so why not do it again? Well, this time, instead of going directly to Fox, it was put out to other networks. NBC looked at it for a little bit, for a short time, but ABC ended up being the one who finally won the bidding war on it. So American Idol will start on there, and they're going to start in August. They're going to start their round of auditions for the new season, which will probably start as a mid-season show, which means January. But American Idol was always best as a mid-season show coming on in January.
It always started in January, I think. So ABC's got it starting when?
Well, we're looking at probably January 2018.
Wow.
If you're doing auditions now.
Is Simon's going to be on there?
Or? It's Simon's company. I haven't heard exactly the anchor, the judges for it. I don't know who. Okay. I don't know if Paula's coming back and all that sort of stuff.
Right. And what about Ryan Seacrest?
I don't know. Right now the main thing they're talking about is the audition process, because it's you can have all the judges you want, if you don't have talent, you don't have performers, you're not going to do anything.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this. You think I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, you are.
Yes, I am, because I thought that Game 4 of the NBA Finals was, come on, is it on the up and up? They want to stretch it out. Golden State is clearly the better team. So it's all about money. Money, 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 money. Remember that song years ago? Money, money, money. That's what drives everything. So I was thinking to myself, okay, look, they're making $1 million a spot for a 30-second spot at least in prime time for 3 hours. Let's say they run 30 spots in 3.5 hours of coverage, because those games stretch out with all the timeouts and everything.
And all the commercial breaks.
Yeah, and all the commercial breaks. So if you're looking at 30 spots at $1 million, that's $30 million.
Right.
That's on the low end of the estimate, okay?
Right.
So why couldn't somebody come to the conclusion that, you know, come on, somebody from New York called and said, hey, let's stretch this out. Come on, guys, stretch it out to Game 5, Game 6, make it interesting. We need about $60 million more in the till. So, come on, Rick.
This is so absurd. I don't even know where to start with this.
I know, you're looking at me funny.
I think if you look at the bottom line on this, you're talking money, but you're forgetting that it's the players. They're the ones who get paid the same amount whether it's a 4-game series or a 7-game series.
Yeah.
Okay. The idea is you get a bonus for winning the championship. So why would you say, okay? I think we had a situation last year where somebody was up 3-1, and but anyway, so why would you even take the chance if I'm up 3-0? Oh, and I can make NBA history by getting through the playoffs undefeated. Oh, I'll throw this game so that the bosses, not me, can get some extra money. I just cannot buy that. Now, the day I see the owners out there playing instead of the players, I'll go with your theory. Because they would throw it for whatever.
And we should say that Game 5 is on tonight, of course, on ABC. And, you know, the stakes are enormous. No question about that. But so the ratings are the highest, and you wrote about this in your column ever since I've been in Fresno. You write about ratings, you write about radio ratings, TV ratings. So the ratings are the highest since Michael Jordan's last season.
Right.
You know, I'm a Michael Jordan fan. I think he was the greatest of all time. But why are the ratings so high this year?
Well, there's history. What you ended up having was, you know, you go into the playoffs with 2 teams that were in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So this is really sort of the, you know, the tiebreaker game. So that kind of gives you a lot of attention from people. You've got great personalities in this sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, but I think you have, if you're going to look at the NBA, you just don't look at the finals, because those numbers always tend to trend up. It's the overall, the numbers are weak for the NBA.
For the playoffs?
Well, just for the season.
They're low.
And I think the problem becomes the NBA season is way too long. We have too many games where, if you want to talk about where you think people are throwing a game, there's some games there, you know, after about the first half of the season where you're seeing, you know, the last guy on the bench starting, and, you know, we're going to give LeBron a break. I always love that because LeBron makes money playing basketball. Get your rear end out on the floor and play. It's not like we're going to go out and see some guy, poor guy in Fresno, who's 150 degrees out there. He's putting a roof on and go, you know, Bill, we're going to give you a break today. We're going to put in Steve to put on these roofs for you because, you know, it's really hard. That's hard. I would give him a break. But, you know, these guys are playing basketball. Come on.
Yeah, they can't be. Well, LeBron signed, what, $100 million contract or some outrageous thing like that. So I don't know.
Well, and I know how much you like Michael Jordan, and I agree with you. Michael's one of the greatest. But I think when history's done, we may look back and make a great argument about LeBron. Yeah. Being the greatest ever, because you know he's certainly.
No, Rick, don't go there.
Well, let's see what happens.
That's the age-old.
Let's see what happens next year, or in 2 years when his contract's up and he goes to the Lakers.
Well, I mean, we could be looking at that, but he needs more. You know, the Lakers need more than just LeBron.
Yeah.
More than just LeBron.
Yeah,
Don't forget
you know
they had Kobe and they had Shaq when they won all those championships.
Well, you know, if you get LeBron, you're halfway to what you need. I mean, how many times have we seen? You know, look at what Jordan did. Yeah. You know, the surrounding players were good, but they weren't his status. So all you need is a LeBron, and then build around it with good players.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason I'm partial to Michael Jordan is because I had the honor and the pleasure of interviewing him twice, one-on-one, just me and him. He was so super nice to me, and I never forgot that. And then I went on and saw him just explode, and to me, the greatest player I've ever seen. Better than Bill Russell, better than Wilt Chamberlain, and I saw both of them, not in person, better than Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Just, I mean, the guy was phenomenal. And I know that this is a great debate, LeBron versus Michael Jordan. It's going to go on for half the people that I know love LeBron. The other half don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah, yeah. And you didn't find that much with Michael. I never saw that, you know, where there was Michael haters.
No,
At least I
never
didn't.
saw
I don't remember
Michael
any of
haters.
that.
No.
You know, but you know, you know,
and I
it's
never
a
saw
whole,
any Magic Johnson haters.
yeah, it's a whole new world. We don't know if Michael's playing now, you know, would he have jumped teams and would he have moved around and all that sort of stuff? You know, the stuff that make people hate LeBron is the stuff that Michael didn't have to go through.
I got to go to a break, but in my opinion, if Michael Jordan was playing today, he would start his jump from beyond the foul line and jump right over LeBron to make a dunk. 436 Me TV, option 11. Rick Bentley is here. We'll get into Donald Trump and how he treats the media. The New York Times, CNN, Jim Acosta, and all the rest. Back in just a moment after this from Thomas Casagrande, 2020 Optometrics.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Tweet that you had this morning about are we living in Nazi Germany? What were you driving at there? What are you trying to tell them?
I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that, and that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do. I think it's a disgrace. That information that was false and fake and never happened got released to the public. As far as BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage, writing it, I think they're going to suffer the consequences. They already are. And as far as CNN going out of their way to build it up, and by the way, we just found out I was coming down, Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen is a very talented lawyer. He's a good lawyer in my firm. It was just reported that it wasn't this Michael Cohen they were talking about. So all night long, it's Michael Cohen. I said, I want to see your passport. He brings his passport to my office. I say, hey, wait a minute. He didn't leave the country. He wasn't out of the country. They had Michael Cohen of the Trump Organization was in Prague. It turned out to be a different Michael Cohen. It's a disgrace what took place. It's a disgrace. And I think they ought to apologize to start with Michael Cohen.
Sir, since you're attacking us, can you give us a question?
Go ahead.
No, Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Since you are attacking our news organization,
not you.
Can you give us a chance?
Your organization is terrible.
You are attacking our news organization.
Your organization is terrible.
Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir,
quiet.
Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead. She's asking a question. Don't be rude.
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not appropriate.
Within 90 days, they're going to be coming back to me with a major report on hacking. I want them to cover this situation. I also want them, however, to cover maybe most importantly, because we're hacked by everybody. You know, the United States, our government, out of a list of 17 in terms of industries, is the worst. It's number 17 in terms of protection. If you look at the retail industry, if you look at the banking industry, various industries, out of 17 industries, they put this in the category of an industry, the United States is last in terms of protecting, let's say, hacking defense. Like we had a great hacking defense at the Republican National Committee. That's why we weren't hacked. By the way, we were told they were trying to hack us, but they weren't able to hack. And I think I get some credit because I told Reince, and Reince did a phenomenal job, but I said, I want strong hacking defense. The Democratic National Committee didn't do that. Maybe that's why the country runs so badly that way. But I will tell you, wait, let me finish. Within 90 days, we will be coming up with a major report on hacking defense. How do we stop this new phenomena, fairly new phenomena, because the United States is hacked by everybody. That includes Russia and China and everybody.
No matter how many times I watch it, it never gets old. It makes me burst out into laughter because quite frankly, I think I'm seeing it for the first time because I'm so shocked by what I'm seeing. I've never seen a president or anybody say, sit down, you're fake news. No, I'm not giving you anything. I'm not giving you a question. Talk about Donald Trump's relationship with the media, and maybe it goes back to your original point early in the broadcast when you say that's why the New York Times is flourishing.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're writing about him and his administration, and people are eating that up. It's amazing to watch what the place that television has played and news coverage has played with the president. I mean, you go back when, I would say the Kennedy-Nixon debates are the first big time we realized how important the TV was to all that. And I think it actually won the election for Kennedy because Nixon was so nervous and
sweating.
And people got to actually see their candidate. And we've seen this over the years that there's sort of been this sort of love-hate relationship. The media. I mean, if you go back and look at some of those Nixon press conferences, there were some caustic moments there. But then you get to it like a Jimmy Carter, where they really liked Carter. But then you get to a Reagan who knew how, as an actor, knew how to deal with all of that sort of stuff. Then you get to Clinton, he had his own troubles with it. So, we certainly look at Trump right now, and he's given fodder, because he's the first president really to have embraced the social media world. We've never seen a president where we get their thoughts every day on what they're doing. And so that gives the media more fodder to talk about. But I think if you go back and look through the history of media coverage and the presidents, there have been great times and there have been bad times. But this one's just a little bit different because of the whole social media thing.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, for any young news anchor that wants to go back and look at the Nixon-Kennedy debate, it's all about feeling and looking comfortable because the camera does not lie. If you look at Richard Nixon in those tapes, he looks so uncomfortable, like I am out of my element.
Yeah.
His body language says it all.
Yeah.
Where Kennedy was this handsome guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you remember the movie Broadcast News? There's a segment in there where the guy takes over the anchor spot, and he's very competent, but he's so nervous and sweating that he loses his credibility.
Yeah.
And so it's the image. I mean, I can write, the president said this, and you read it one way, but if you actually see him do it, it changes things. So the media's been a big part of that.
I've been in front of the camera so long now that I could probably fall asleep on camera.
Yeah, you're
I mean,
comfortable.
Really.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I feel so you immediately pick up on that, don't you? A person can pick up on that.
Oh, exactly. I'm telling you, I think you talked about the Ken and Barbie anchors.
Yeah.
There are people who I think have automatic more respect for somebody. I've always been a big fan of Warren Armstrong at ABC 30.
Great anchor.
Because Warren comes across like he knows what he's doing, that you feel if there's a crisis, I want him there talking to me. And there are others that I don't feel that same way about. And the public, don't ever shortchange them. They pick this up too. They find those anchors. It's somebody like a Kopi Soteropoulos at KMPH. Yeah. There's something about Kopi that you connect with so immediately. It's like, it's not some distant anchor. It's my uncle Kopi, or it's a brother Kopi. I mean, they feel that connected to it.
It's because they feel comfortable on camera. They feel comfortable within their own skin, and that you feel like they're in control of the situation, and they're going to tell you, okay, here's what's going on. But let's take this call here. Caller, you're on the air with the one and only Rick Bentley, who's starting his own TV talk show at Coca-Cola Broadcasting. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, Rick, sorry you lost your job, but I understand why. You're so out of touch. You say this is the first president to embrace social media. No, it's the first president that embraced social media that has an opinion that's different from the mainstream media. I think it's interesting how when President President Trump was asked on his 100th anniversary, the exclusive interview by John Dickerson on CBS, he said, I'm just amazed at how corrupt the media is. That was his first answer. And Dickerson didn't even know what to say. And you guys were expecting Hillary to get in there. You had ordained her. The media had ordained her. She was the chosen child. You guys overlooked the Bernieites. And now that's why you have such dissension in the media, even among the Democrats.
Okay.
They can't get any traction.
Caller, let me stop you right there because I'm running short on time. I only have 4 minutes, and I know you're an avid viewer of this program, and I appreciate your call so much. But, you know, Rick has been in the business a long time, and for you to say that he doesn't know what he's talking about, I think is totally wrong. And
No,
no, wait a second, let me finish. I wasn't totally expecting Hillary to win. I didn't quite know what was going to happen because Hillary wasn't campaigning as much as Donald Trump or tweeting like Donald Trump and she wasn't getting people to come to her rallies as much as Donald Trump. So for you to assume that I knew what was going to happen or thought I knew what was going to happen.
No. Barack Obama tweeted all the time. He was the first president to really embrace social media, both in his campaign and his presidency.
Right.
And your guest said that Donald Trump is the first president to do that. I'm just saying he's the first president to disagree with the media, and they hate it. They hate it.
Well, okay.
I get your point.
We get it, but I got to go because I'm short on time. Go ahead, Rick.
Well, I was going to say, I get your point, but what I'm saying is if you go back and compare what Obama was doing with social media and what Trump is doing with social media, that's like night and day. This is an escalation of the social media thing like I've never seen before, and not, you know, the Obama tweets were designed specifically to make points about stuff they wanted to make points. Donald is doing it every day, almost every minute.
Yeah. Hey, take another quick call here. Let's see who's calling. All right, caller, you're on the air, but very quick because we're short on time. You're on with Rick Bentley. Thanks for calling in.
Yes, by the way, I like your haircut. You look very young and handsome. I have a question. Do you think Donald Trump is going to lead us to World War III?
Okay, thank you. World War III, is he going to lead us in? Trump?
Is that the new Tom Cruise movie?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Who knows what's going to go on?
Hey, Kerry, do me a favor, because I know we're short on time, but run the Sean Spicer where it says, don't stop shaking your head. We'll run it very quickly here. Go ahead and roll the tape.
With all of these investigations, questions of what is, how does this administration try to revamp its image? 2.5 months in, you've got this Yates story today. You've got other things going on. You've got Russia. You've got wiretapping. You've got
we don't have that. You I know.
On Capitol Hill.
No, I get it, but you keep. I've said it from the day that I got here until whatever that there is no connection. You've got Russia. If the president puts Russian salad dressing on his salad tonight, somehow that's a Russian connection. But every single person. No, that's. I appreciate your agenda here, but the reality is, no, hold on. No, at some point, report the facts. The facts are that every single person who has been briefed on this subject has come away with the same conclusion: Republican, Democrat. So, I'm sorry that disgusts you. You're shaking your head. I appreciate it, but understand this: that at some point, the facts are what they are, and every single person who has been briefed on this situation, with respect to the situation with Russia, Republican, Democrat, Obama appointee, career, have all come to the same conclusion. At some point, April, you're going to have to take no for an answer with respect to whether...
All right, Sean Spicer, or was that Melissa McCarthy?
I couldn't tell. I need to see the clip again. Yeah.
How much time here? Because I need to know. Okay, we've got 30 seconds. So Trump sends out Spicer to do his dirty work.
Well, every president has sent out their press. I wouldn't have that job no matter how much they paid you. It's a no-win situation.
But it's part of the Trump narrative.
Well, but whoever was doing that job was part of the Obama narrative, part of the Clinton narrative, whatever.
Yeah. Rick, good to see you.
All right.
Hey, come back again.
Check out my new show.
I will. All right. Rick Bentley. All right. A new show on Coca-Cola Broadcasting. 436 MeTV option 11. Leave a message. See you tomorrow with Sam Shima.
2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
If you have a need to promote your business or event, please consider